for you all, something that you all will be able to take away today, because I have a gentleman that I truly admire. He's a good friend of mine, somebody who became a Patreon, and I've been able to meet this individual many times to the point where our families, our friends, and our kids hang out with each other and so forth. And I thought it would be great to have this individual come on to the channel to tell his story, because he has a remarkable story, an absolutely remarkable story. So I asked him to share this with us, share his story with us on this Sunday. But before we get there, guys, I want to say this. Guys, we have a lot of people having success within our Patreon. Guys, if you aren't part of the Patreon, go ahead and join the Patreon group. We have people like Damion, who are huge supporters of the Patreon, and people who contribute to the Patreon and can give you life lessons and so forth. Leaders of men and so forth. Leaders of ladies and of men as well too. So consider joining the Patreon. Also, yesterday's show, I talked about Brother Greg, how he was able to get a 17% promotion. We're going to get Greg on the show as well, but somebody who just got a 48% promotion is on the show today, because he is doing some fantastic things in his career. And let me just say this, when you're climbing the ladder and you are in tech and you happen to be of, one ethnicity where you are a minority of some sort, meaning that you don't see many people like yourself, you need to have people around you that support you and can understand some of the challenges you may be facing. And that's what the Black Heights community does. It allows for us to, while we're on our journey, to have other individuals who are like us that may be facing the same things, that we can talk about. We can help each other. We can guide each other. We can mentor each other. We can coach each other and so forth, so that we continue up that journey, up those ladder rings to ultimately where we want to be. And that comes with a lot of money. That comes with a lot of power. That comes with, providing for your family and doing the things that are important for you, whatever that may be. So needless to say, I wanted to bring on Mr. Damion Rhymes, and I'm going to have him introduce himself. But before I cut over to the mixed screen, I'm going to cut over to the mixed screen and have Mr. Damion introduce himself, man. Damion, how are you doing, sir?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
I am fantastic this Sunday morning. I got a late start. That's why we are late to the show. It was not Damien's fault. It was all me. Brother Wade got out of the bed after boating yesterday, and I'm sore, I'm burnt, and the sun just zaps the crap out of you, man. We got to get you and your family down here soon to come out on the lake with us, man.
So we can get burnt too.
Hey, man, you might
We
enjoy
down for it.
it.
We
Absolutely.
down
Tell
for it.
everybody how you doing today, man.
I'm pretty good, man. It's Sunday. I got a day of studying ahead of me, but so goes life.
That I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, out of your busy day, out of your busy calendar to come on the show to share your journey with us. For the people who don't know Mr. Rhymes, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everyone that's watching this show today who Mr. Rhymes is.
Well, first, I'm just honored to be here and share my story. I'm just impressed that you thought it could provide value for others. And, just like me, a lot of you out there, same thing. I enjoy hearing other people's stories. Just there's a lot of similarities and some differences, but it's all inspiring. I mean, just hearing what other people do, some of the decisions they made, maybe even some of the bad ones they made can help others, help learn from each other. And everybody so far that I met in the network is just a group of intelligent folks. I've met in person, of course, Antoine, Ben, Brandy, Jonathan, Norris. I even text with Mr. Christian Emerson from time to time.
Yep.
So yeah, sometimes for a lot of us, you feel a little bit isolated. But once you get in this community, it's man, it's just encouraging to have folks around you, hear their stories, and just be surrounded with intelligent, well-to-do people. And man, Jonathan, his story is just incredible. Like, I'm just still blown away by what Mr. Jonathan Stevens has done.
Yep.
To meeting the guy, one of the coolest dudes you could ever meet. I'm telling you, just man, the dude is awesome. Got me listening to jazz. He's just an awesome dude. I can't wait to get with him again.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, I'll tell you about me. I'm straight out of the country, and so I had a lot of catching up to do with this tech stuff. Like, it wasn't even on my radar. Uh, I was born and raised here in Texas, in Southeast Texas, small town, Shepherd, Texas, north of Houston. Um, and it was a struggle, man. Small group of black folks in this little Southeast Texas town. That was probably 10%, I guess, at that time. And of course, probably hear my accent a little bit. It's just sometimes I try to hide it, but it's out there. But anyway, I grew up.
I tell you one thing, David.
uh,
It is a Texas accent, but I think it's the coolest accent ever, man. Because when I grew up listening to people from Texas, right? Just Walker, Texas, Ranger, but I don't think they were from Texas. But just hearing the Texas accent, whether it was Bush, right, our president, that it's a cool accent, man. And I love the accent. So you gotta embrace that accent. But continue on, sir. I love it.
yeah. So, and another cool thing, like, I hear this from a lot of people, like, when people from Texas travel, like, especially outside of the country or whatever, we don't say we're from the United States. We say we're from Texas. So people get it. But anyway, I grew up in a small, town, Southeast Texas. Man, had to do a lot of fighting as a kid. I was smaller, plus, big small minority, so a lot of fighting I had to do growing up. But anyway, I grew up like a lot of people imagine Texans grow up. I grew up farming, ranch, rodeo, hunt, fish, all that stuff. Man, I just, riding horses, breaking horses, working cows, gardening, farming, driving tractors, stacking hay, all that stuff. I got, that was what I did growing up.
And, and,
And
and, and, and Damon, that's what I find so fascinating about your story, right? I find that so fascinating about your story because, you know, I met Damion, and when I met Damion, guys, let me say this, right? Of course, you hear the Texas accent. Like, man, what does Damion do? And Damion started talking about he rode horses and how he knows how to, ranch. And next you know, he's cowboy. And I'm like, wow, like this is absolutely amazing. Then he went into his family history and how he has, generations of his family who were actually cowboys here in Texas. And you read about the Texas cowboys and so forth. And he tells me this story, and I'm like, wow, this is absolutely fascinating. Like, me living in the United States, and I've never lived in Texas before, we moved here in 2018. You hear about this sort of stuff, but you don't run across a lot of people who embrace that about their past, right? Well, they do, but they typically aren't black, right? I mean, like, and, I come across a black gentleman who's, did this in his life and grew up this way. I think it's absolutely fascinating. It's the coolest stuff because all the stuff you see on TV, you actually did it in real life. And not only that, you're in tech now. So you continue on about the growing up. Like I think people will find that fascinating because what you did growing up was hard work, Damion. That was hard work, and obviously that's something that you have carried on into your professional career. That's the reason why you are where you are today. But continue talking about the stuff that you did as a young one, growing up on ranches and herding cows or horses and stuff like that.
yeah, probably the blue collar roots, helps with the work ethic, man. It's, you get up in the morning, you got to get the work done. That's just how we rolled.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, and yeah, there's a long history of black cowboys, farmers. It's out there. I mean, if you're around it, you see it. But for a lot of people, you get presented with what you see on TV, and that's not the whole story.
Mm.
Actually, one of my favorite movies now is The Harder They Fall.
Mm.
It's a movie about they took a lot of the famous old Western cowboys and created a movie. It's my favorite movie, bar none, of all
Mm.
time.
I'm gonna check that out.
So
I'm gonna check that out.
yeah, man, it's awesome. It's even got Idris Elba in there. They took a bunch of well-known black cowboys from history and just created a story around it. It's awesome. It was just no bull. The whole, even from the horsemanship, I was looking for all kinds of stuff. They did really really good with
Mm,
it.
mm, mm. I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, so growing up, all the men I grew up around, hardworking blue collar men, but all very intelligent in what they were doing. Whether it was driving trucks, mechanic work, logging, it didn't matter. Like all the men were intelligent in what they were doing. But there wasn't. Hell, I don't think there was anybody that was doing office work. It was just all hands on labor, and but everybody, all the men, very intelligent. My father included. So, man, about fifth grade, I got moved in to the GT program, gifted and talented. School figured out I'd always made the honor roll, even with all the fighting and stuff I did. Had leave, get kicked out of school from time to time. Not kicked out, suspended, day here, 2 days there. But I always maintained good grades.
Yep.
So by fifth grade, the school put me in the GT program, the gifted and talented program, and I wasn't. It was just weird being separated from the larger crowd. Like you're in this small group of talented, intelligent kids, and I just wanted to be normal. So it took a long time to be comfortable with being that much different. And I didn't think I was better than anybody, but I was different.
Yep.
So coming to terms with that, it takes years, man. So
Mm.
let's see. I sat in I was I was hard. Like a lot of people got picked on as far as intelligent kids or whatever, but I was tough to pick on. Like I was an athlete, intelligent, so I had already had a lot of experience with the hands, so it wasn't a whole lot of picking on me as a nerd because you could get it. I mean, I wasn't gonna start nothing, but if you brought it to me, it was just like another day in the office for me. I didn't get excited. It was just something I had to do.
Yep.
So, well, and I think where I'm from, like a lot of kids like me, black kids, you don't get exposed to a whole lot. You just grow up in a small town. There's not a whole lot of exposure. So I think part of me being an athlete and being high on academics got me exposed to a lot of things, a lot of trips and stuff. Other people I got to be around. It was really cool. And when I say athlete, I was a pretty good athlete. Man, I was a starting running back as a sophomore in high school. It was a 3A school, but man, there's some competition in these small schools in Texas. But yeah, so many good grades all the way through school. I did get one F. I was in high school. I think it was my junior year. First period was woodshop. So I got in the woodshop class. We're doing all this safety and reading books and stuff. I asked the teacher, like, hey, when we gonna build something? He's like, oh, that's next semester. And that was like weeks and months, down the road. I'm like, man, I already do this stuff at home, man. I'm, building horse stalls, pig pens, fencing, dog houses. I've done roofing work. Like, I'm just in here, to build some stuff. So I went to the office. I asked them if could they transfer me to another class because it was just a waste of my time being in there just doing safety and reading books about what I saw. I'm like, I do this at home every day, so they wouldn't transfer me. Like it was like, oh, the schedule's locked. So I stopped going. I told my mom and dad, like, look, this is just a waste of time. I'm not going to go to that class anymore. And my mom's like, well, they're going to give you an F. I'm like, I know, but I was cool. I didn't need it. So weeks later, the administration called my mom. She's like, yeah, we know. So they ended up dropping me from the course and like just took the whole class off my records.
Wow.
So that was the only F I got.
and,
It was
and when I hear this story, Damion, right? Like you grew up, doing labor and to the point where it's like, for younger kids in high school, they don't get access and they don't have exposure to the stuff that you grew up with, right? I even think about myself. I didn't have exposure to, what you grew up with, having to or being able to build stuff, right? Which you use your hands and, measure and cut and all this other stuff. That was a line of work that your family did, and you grew up, with those skills and learning those skills at such a young age, right? Now, talk about when you're learning those skills, right? There's other skills that you may not be learning, right? And what was since you was in this side of the blue collar and and so forth. One of the things that we titled this stream is you had to catch up a lot.